Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Union Station's President and CEO, George Costello.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Running a little cold this morning, but that's our next exhibit. We obviously do things grand here at Union Station, so on behalf of our professional team that did an amazing job on that video, welcome to Union Station and welcome to the Rainier Extreme Screen as we tell the story of an amazing world-class exhibition right here in Kansas City. It has been a great journey and one that we're very excited to bring this international story right here to Kansas City, especially during the World Cup. So on behalf of all of us, I'd like to say welcome, but before we get started, I'd like to turn your attention to the screen. We have a special welcome remark from our chairman of the board, Ray Kowalik.
Hi, I'm Ray Kowalik, and I'm here today to welcome you to the Berlin Wall exhibit. On behalf of the Kowalik family, that's myself, our daughter Sabrina, my wife Jill, and my deceased parents, Joseph and Danuta, Donna Kowalik. The Berlin Wall is very important to our family because I am the product of World War II and the Cold War. My parents were in Poland during World War II. And what they didn't want to do is live under communist rule after World War II. So they left and ended up in the United States, immigrated, and I was born here in the United States. The Berlin Wall is really symbolic of that Cold War that occurred after World War II. I'm also the chairman of the Union Station's board, and I'm very proud of the mission that we have of preserving history, educating our youth with Science City, and George and his team at Union Station do such an excellent job of that and getting these wonderful exhibits. So I hope that everyone enjoys this exhibit, learns a little bit about the Cold War, World War II, and the history of that, and enjoys having their time with their family and learning about our history and why we are the way we are today in the world. Thank you and enjoy your day.
Thanks, Ray. We're also broadcasting live on social and digital media, so for all of our friends that are watching us from around the world, welcome. It's an honor for you to join us, and thank you, Ray. I know he's watching from Florida. Well, we're here in Kansas City, but our weather's better, Ray. But thank you, Ray, for your commitment, your leadership, but most importantly, the family's foundation commitment to bring this to Kansas City. Ray shared some very powerful comments about this exhibition this morning, not enough coffee, and it really explores the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Cold War tensions, the division, resilience of people, but most importantly, and ultimately freedom. And I think that's what people will leave this exhibition understanding and appreciating. We are proud to be able to partner again with a longtime friend and the producer of Auschwitz not long ago, not far away, Muselia, from San Sebastian, Spain. Our journey started with Muselia nearly 10 years ago, when we were very fortunate to be the Midwest premiere of Auschwitz not long ago, not far away, and it was one of the most impactful and largest exhibitions in our history. Well over 300,000 individuals joined us. But when we created that relationship nearly 10 years ago, Luis became a very dear friend, and he is now honored all over the world. And on this stage, almost 5 years ago, Luis was honored with the highest award ever bestowed on an individual from the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum, where he received the very prestigious Light of Remembrance. He was also featured at the 80th anniversary in Poland of the Auschwitz anniversary of the end of the Holocaust. Luis then, at that time, when we opened Auschwitz, posed an idea of the next exhibition that he was working on, and that's this exhibition, the continuation, or what happens after the end of World War II. And we sat in our office right before you, and we were pitching the story 5 years before we even thought about it. And we instantaneously said, we want to be part of that. How can we start the journey now? And it's been a very amazing time to watch Luis create this exhibition with international professionals all over the world. We've seen the opening. We were there at the opening in Madrid. And then the resounding success at the Museum of Man in Paris. And we then went to San Sebastian and twisted his arm and said, how can you get it here during the World Cup? And Luis delivered on his promises. So I'm very, very pleased to be able to introduce to you a friend, a scholar, and one of the best in the exhibition world that creates stories that leave lasting memories. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to Kansas City our dear friend, Luis Fierro. Luis.
Thank you very much, George. You're always very generous in your comments towards our work and my personal work. So thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining here in Kansas City and also via Facebook and live stream. And thank you very much for the colleagues I share the stage today. It means really a lot, both your presence and the support from your institution. So thank you very much. And it is true, we create exhibitions above all about human stories. This is what we really care in Musealia, to explore the human condition. What does it mean to be human? And that is also the reason why we are here today. I want to also take this moment to acknowledge the work of Union Station, Kansas City. We have had literally exhibitions from Australia to Canada to Mexico to South Africa to Paris to Sweden. And I can say honestly that I invite the institution you have here in Kansas City that brings amazing exhibitions and experiences to the community, and that does it in such a special and careful way. So thank you very much, George, team, Union Station, and Kansas City for making this possible. It really means a lot to us. Auschwitz was certainly a turning point for our company. I am sure bringing the exhibition for the first time in North America to Kansas City, to Union Station, will also be very meaningful for Musealia. So why does a Spanish company creating exhibitions do an exhibition about the Berlin Wall? And there's always a link, an actually interesting link to Auschwitz. More than 10 years ago, we were creating Auschwitz, as George was describing, and we were often traveling to Berlin for different meetings. And our hotel, we always had the same hotel, and it was like maybe 200 meters away from Bernauer Strasse, where right now the Berlin Wall Memorial Foundation stands. And you have there like probably 100 meters of the wall itself as it was back in the 60s and 70s. And after the days, after the hours of meetings and creative process, I just usually, at the end of the day, go for a walk and get some oxygen to my brain. And I usually just ended up at Bernauer Strasse, and I was facing these concrete pieces of the wall. And at the same time, I was reading a short speech by Isaiah Berlin, a philosopher, a historian of ideas from the past century. And in the late 90s, he wrote this very short speech called Message to the 21st Century. And the core idea of that speech was, what is the most dangerous idea of all? And because I was working in Auschwitz, I thought it was going to be hatred or moral indifference or something alike. And I was surprised because actually what he said it was the most dangerous idea of all was this belief, this notion that by following one particular ideology, we could solve all the problems of human beings. and basically opened the gates of paradise on earth. So he found that, of course, to be very dangerous, and he was born in the early part of the past century. He died in the 90s, and he thought that this notion of ideological component dogma was at the cause of the horrors of the 20th century. So I could not refrain myself of asking, what is the message that these pieces of the wall from the 20th century have for us, citizens of the 21st century? And that was the seed of the exhibition, to tell the story of the Berlin Wall, to tell the story from a human perspective. And that's how we managed to work together with the Berlin Wall Foundation, the German public institution that deals with the legacy of the wall and with the memory of the victims. They opened their archives and their historians to work with us, and led by Christian Ostermann and Gerhard Salter, we, together with a group of experts and historians and educators, were able to create an exhibition that explains the story of the Berlin Wall from a human perspective, and basically tells us what does it mean to live in a city, in a continent, in a world that is divided. That is what the exhibition is going to present, that human story, with more than 200 original artifacts, more than 10 tons. We're bringing more than 10 tons of the wall itself here to Kansas City. And for me, of course, after those days and after working in the exhibition, for me the message is very complex. I think the exhibition embraces the complexity of our history, of human behavior, and then presents a space for visitors to reflect. We don't try to moralize, to tell people what to think, but rather present the facts of history, and for them to listen to this message that the wall holds for us. In my case, of course, I think it's an important message of vulnerability and fragility. If we are generous, we can say that 20%, around 20% of the countries of the world live nowadays in what we call liberal democracies, so we should not take for granted the systems that we have. But it's also a message of hope and responsibility. In the end, it's only for each generation to preserve, to protect, and to give meaning to what we call freedom and democracy. I really hope that the exhibition creates this space for reflection in Kansas City. And again, thank you all very much for being here, and especially Union Station for welcoming. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Luis. You're so articulate. How many of you had the opportunity, although I can't say out in there, that had the opportunity to experience Auschwitz not long ago, not far away? So you know the quality, the brilliance that Luis creates, and many of you probably are still having those emotions as you stood and learned in that. But the last room, if you remember, there was a picture and a quote. It told you to do something. Well, Luis did it again, and now he's bringing this international exhibition to Kansas City at a very important time in world history. And when you think about it, you're bringing how many tons of the wall coming? More than 10. Yeah, it's costing me a lot of money. He's bringing 2 giant pieces, but everyone thought how great we were when we did the NFL draft. We're going to top it. We're going to have 2 giant pieces of the Berlin Wall on either side of the historic clock, facing Union Station and right in front of Henry Bloch's fountain, where he left to defend the United States against the atrocities in World War II. So as the entire world comes and sees Kansas City for the World Cup, we will stand proud, we'll stand bright, and we'll stand strong, welcoming all of our international visitors, but more importantly, to stand up for freedom. Now that connects me to the next dot. We like to bring the international spotlight on Union Station and to Kansas City and our community. And we'll be working with internationals to bring this to Kansas City. But we're very fortunate to be able to work with the country of Germany. And we have the Consul General with us from Germany. And tonight, the building will be lit up in the colors of the German flag to remind everybody what we will be bringing to Kansas City. Rolf Schneider is a dear friend, longtime family friend, way back days to my days of the American Royal and his dad. And we've done many events with the people of the country of Germany. And one of my favorite events that Rolf did was we had a great dinner welcoming international visitors and welcoming the Consul General to Kansas City for an opening of an exhibition. And Rolf gave me this magnificent German cufflink. It's beautiful. It has the flag on it. It's great. Well, I moved from downtown to a lake, and I lost the other box, so I do not have the other one this morning. So when we open the exhibition, Rolf will give me the other cufflink, and Germany will be reunited at the opening. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, a dear friend, the Consul General from Germany, Rolf Schneider. Rolf?
So thank you, George, for inviting me. It's a great honor to be able to speak about one of the greatest cultural icons of Germany while being here and one of the biggest icons of Kansas City. It's an honor and I appreciate it, so thank you very much. While I was preparing my remarks today and kind of thinking about what I was going to say, there was a young gentleman sitting in my office, and while I was helping him, he asked me, "Do you mind if I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure, no problem." And he looked at me and he said, "Why is there a rock on your wall?" And I kind of looked up, startled, and I was confused, and he was pointing to a piece of the Berlin Wall that we have hanging in our office. And I had to catch myself, and I had to remind myself that this gentleman was of a generation that they look at it and they see a piece of concrete, a chunk of debris. They don't see the manifestation of something that divided the world for a long time. Two ideological differences that separated everybody. And Checkpoint Charlie to him was that spot in downtown Berlin that separated the KFC from the McDonald's. It wasn't that point which could have been the flashpoint for World War III, where 6 days in 1961, there was an armed standoff, and nobody knew what was going to happen. And so when he looks at this debris, or this piece of concrete, he sees it as a relic of the past, like a corded phone, or DVDs, or something else. And it wasn't that long ago. And here today, we're actually not that far from where Luis talked about, and George, the Auschwitz exhibit. And that was one of the most successful exhibits here that we've had. And the thing that makes these two important are there more than anything else, the Holocaust and the Berlin Wall are the two things everybody in the world thinks of when they think of Germany. And of all the subjects that kids are required to take in German schools, those two are mandatory across the board. And there's not many of those at all. That the idea is that you can't forget and you shouldn't forget the lessons that they taught at all. And even though the timeline can be stretched and structures can be removed and destroyed, we have to be careful to remind us that if we don't pay attention, some of these things could be repeated. And so the stories are great and they're fantastic and they leave a mark. But what's more important is the lessons they teach you and the principles which they espouse, and that is that we should never, ever lose our humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Consul General. We appreciate your comments. One of the things that we do so well at Union Station is not only we bring these international exhibitions with the stories, we connect them to Kansas City. So it becomes relevant, and also our community and our region understands how important Kansas City was to those stories. Here's another example. This exhibition is going to be connecting so many dots in our community so we can learn about the past of Kansas City as we look to the future of the world. I want to thank Petra, our Chief Experience Officer, who's working diligently to uncover those stories. And if you haven't had a chance to see the stories she's uncovered during Titanic, please come back because we still need to sell tickets. But, so please join us and learn those stories. But Petra's already uncovered some amazing stories And the very first story and one of our very first partners that we look to partner on this exhibition is the Truman Library and Harry Truman. How fitting it is that this Berlin Wall is in Kansas City in his home. And when you think about it, and back in the county, Jackson County, where he was for 8 years the Jackson County judge, which now would be known as the Jackson County Executive. And I believe County Executive Phil LaVoda is in the audience. Phil, you in there? Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And we didn't put you next to him, but everybody thinks you're Truman anyway. So we want to thank you for your commitment. I want to tell the audience, Phil in the Jackson County Legislature has been a major educational supporter of Union Station, sending tens of thousands of students to our exhibitions and to our science center, the only county in the region that does that, to understand. But yesterday, he presented a check to Union Station and to Louise in why this exhibition means so much, that we will be doing a special scholarship program for active seniors to come and experience this exhibition for free at no cost for underserved seniors or overserved seniors. No matter what it is, they're coming through Jackson County. So Phil, thank you so much for what you do, and I am an active senior, so I'll be looking forward to taking advantage, but I don't live in the county. Sorry. So thank you so much to Phil, and thank you. Now it's my honor to turn your attention to the executive director of the Truman Library to tell us a little bit about what we expect and how we expect to partner with them. So when we think about that, so ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Adams, the director of the Harry S. Truman Library and Museum that preserves the history and the culture and the stories of President Truman.
Good morning. I'm Mark Adams, Director of the Truman Library and Museum, and it's a great pleasure to be here this morning with you. And as George has mentioned, we are going to be collaborating and helping with the local connection to this exhibit. Just 3 weeks after Harry S. Truman became president in April 1945, World War II concluded in Europe with Germany's surrender. However, the end of the global conflict soon transitioned into a new global struggle, the Cold War. Missouri's own Harry Truman was central to navigating this new era, including negotiations with the Soviet Union. And at the Potsdam Conference, for example, with Stalin and Churchill, Truman agreed on dividing Germany and Berlin into 4 sectors, the forerunner of what we see in the Berlin Wall in the 1960s. That division took place in the summer of 1945. Truman's leadership was pivotal in this time period, shaping U.S. foreign policy during the Cold War through the Truman Doctrine, the Marshall Plan, and the formation of NATO. In 1947, Harry Truman introduced the Truman Doctrine, a significant step aimed at containing the spread of communism. This policy provided political, military, and economic support to nations threatened by Soviet influence. This was followed in 1948 by the Marshall Plan. By offering financial aid to the recovery of war-torn Europe, the U.S. aimed to foster stable economic conditions that would successfully deter the rise of communism. This plan was crucial in revitalizing Europe economies and promoting political stability, therefore countering Soviet influence. A cornerstone of his foreign policy was established in 1949 with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. The military alliance, conceived under Truman's leadership, was dedicated to collective defense against the Soviet threat. It cemented a mutual defense commitment among the US and its allies, reinforcing the principle that an attack on one member was an attack on all, and symbolizes the West's united front. Truman was also instrumental in one of the Cold War's most famous moments, accompanying Winston Churchill to Fulton, Missouri for the renowned Iron Curtain speech in 1946. The event originated when the president of Westminster College in Fulton invited Churchill to speak. Truman, who was president at the time, heartily endorsed the idea, inviting Churchill to this wonderful school in my home state. He said, "I'll introduce you." Churchill quickly agreed and announced his intention to deliver a major foreign policy address. In the days leading up to the speech, Churchill shared his text with Truman's key advisors, who briefed the president. As they traveled across the country on the Ferdinand Magellan, Truman was thrilled to bring the world's most famous orator to the college in his home state, even enjoying a poker game or two with Churchill. The next morning, Churchill presented his final revisions to President Truman, who declared the speech would do nothing but good. In his address, Churchill uttered those famous words, "From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an Iron Curtain has descended across the continent." He advocated for Western democracies, particularly Britain and the United States, to prevent the indefinite expansion of Soviet power and doctrine. Truman repeatedly applauded throughout the speech, and his expression confirmed his clear approval, which was shared by the audience. Given Truman's profound role in the Cold War, including the resulting division of Germany and Berlin, this collaboration with Union Station is natural and fitting. We wish them great success with this outstanding exhibit, and we are proud to loan materials for it and look forward to its positive reception. Thank you.
I wish I could talk as nice as you do, but thank you for agreeing to be a partner with us. It was an easy connection, and it's going to be our honor to be able to tell everyone that comes to Kansas City to make sure they come to see your amazing institution and learn everything they possibly can about Truman. We talked a little bit about Churchill, and I'm going to tell you for our next speaker, a good friend that has been an amazing consigliere to me is Warren Erdman. Warren has been by my side helping grow the station and saving the station. When we told him we were doing the Berlin Wall, he immediately said, "George, you need to get down to Fulton, Missouri, and you need to go down there and you need to understand what's happening, especially at the Churchill Museum, and you need to understand." So we got in our car. I think he only wanted to do that because he's head of the Missouri Department of Transportation, wanted me to drive along the highway. But I drove down there. Thank you, Warren, for getting the money because it needs to be fixed. We got down there and we were blown away. We were greeted by the director and chief curator of the America's National Churchill Museum, Timothy Riley. And he opened his arms and opened the entire museum and shared all the stories. And I'll let him talk about his 80th anniversary and the connection that we have with Kansas City and with their Kemper Family Foundation and all the opportunities that we encourage you to go down and see that museum, but we'll be partnering with them. It means a lot, Jim, that you're here with us today, especially that you've got your big party in less than a few weeks. So I hope everybody buys a ticket. You don't want to miss it. It's going to have a great meal. But ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome my new best friend, the curator of the America's National Churchill Museum, Tim Riley. Tim?
Well, thank you, George, and thank you all for being here. It's extraordinary. Luis, wow. What an extraordinary work you've done, Consul General, Mark, my colleague in the history business. It's an important time to be in the history business. 80 years ago, when Winston Churchill came to the heartland of America, with President Truman at his side to Westminster College, he delivered a speech. He called it the sinews of peace. Today, we commonly refer to it as the Iron Curtain speech. Those words, spoken at Westminster College, warned of an iron curtain descending across the continent. Those words echoed and reverberated globally. From Kansas City to Fulton, Missouri, to the world, this exhibition, I believe, will also resonate globally. For Churchill, when he mentioned the Iron Curtain, it was a metaphor, an ideological divide between communism and freedom. That divide came into being with the Berlin Wall in the 1960s. It was the concrete manifestation of Churchill's Iron Curtain. That speech at Folsom, Missouri, was given with the president at his side. That speech was a typewritten document, which you can see in its entirety at the museum, opening March 5th. Our 80th anniversary, as George was kind enough to point out, is coming up March 5th through 7th. We have a new exhibition opening where visitors can explore every word typed out with Churchill's handwritten edits to that speech, the warning that an Iron Curtain has descended across the continent of Europe. And from Missouri, this message to the world of this ideological design and warning was made. I find it interesting, however, that Churchill's speech was not just a warning, it was a blueprint. How can the world overcome the threat of Soviet aggression, the threat of communism? For Churchill, the answer was simple: democracy, alliances, freedom. Instead of a wall, a barrier that divides, Churchill imagined the sinews of peace, the title of his speech. What are sinews? Sinews are things that bind us together, make us stronger. And for Churchill, freedom, democracy, the rule of law, habeas corpus, freedom of speech, all of these values that we as Americans hold dear, Churchill believed would be the blueprint for waging and ultimately winning that Cold War. Fortunately for us in Missouri, we have a legacy of leadership that continues to follow Churchill's footsteps. President Reagan, on the one-year anniversary of the fall of the wall, dedicated a Berlin Wall monument, a sculpture designed by Edwina Sands, Winston Churchill's granddaughter, on the very spot where her grandpapa gave the Iron Curtain speech. And this wall from President Reagan was dedicated. Reagan, who famously said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," came to the heartland of America, following in Churchill's footsteps here in Missouri to say, it's over. Not to be outdone, a year and a half later, thanks to Warren Erdman, who George mentioned, we were very honored to have Mikhail Gorbachev come and officially declare the end of the Cold War from the same lectern that Churchill used, arguably, to begin it. So I think an exhibition like this in the heartland of America, at Westminster College, where the speech was given, to Kansas City at Union Station, where the world will once again turn its attention to these ideas and ideals of freedom and democracy, this exhibition is an extraordinary moment for all of us. So thank you, George, for organizing it. Louise, thank you for your incredible work to do this, and we look forward to working with you to promote this extraordinary opportunity once again for Missouri. Thank you.
Well, thank you. The only piece of Reagan's speech that was cut out was, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall and move it to Fulton, Missouri." So he didn't say that part of it, nor did he get a laugh. He was much funnier than I was. So now that we've lived through the Cold War in this presentation, I think we've come to the end. I want to thank all of you for joining us, all of our scholars that have joined us and are going to be partners with us. We have many other stories that we'll be telling, and we are so honored. I want to thank our board of directors. I want to thank our professional team that's worked diligently to get this exhibition up. All of the team, Michael, Lauren, Ashlyn, Michael, everyone that's made this happen for us. And we are ready for Union Station to again be on the world scene and be heard right from here. So all the eyes of the world will be on Kansas City, on a global audience starting in the end of May. Tickets are on sale now for VIPs, so please tell everyone to join us. Get your tickets. I'm confident it's going to be a busy time. But this world-class exhibition, as we will now learn, talks about freedom, human rights, democracy. And everyone in the region and the world will look at Union Station and say those words when they see the Berlin Wall, a world divided, only at Union Station for the North American premiere. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing all of you. Thank you.